Hey guys, what's going on? Jeb here, and in today's video, we're going to be doing a little bit of technical analysis on Bitcoin and the cryptocurrency markets, and more specifically, we're going to be continuing to talk about this bullish breakout that we've been discussing here over the last couple of days, and more specifically, I want to talk about what's going to develop here over the next several days, whether or not Bitcoin is going to break bullish above this downtrend of resistance that we've seen Bitcoin under for a couple of months now, this one right here, or if we're about to see Bitcoin break bearish and reject off of this level of resistance and start heading to the downside. And I also want to discuss the ramifications of both of those moves because they are both very, very important for Bitcoin. We're definitely at a deciding point for Bitcoin that's going to have lasting ramifications here over the next couple of months and potentially over the next couple of years. I'll explain why in just a little bit, but we're also going to be discussing in today's video some news coming out of Samsung. Breaking: Samsung Galaxy S10 is going to be featuring built-in crypto support. Very, very interesting stuff indeed. We'll be discussing that later on in today's video. So if you guys enjoyed today's video, definitely consider dropping a like, hitting that subscribe button, and smashing the notification bell, guys. It does help out the channel when you do it, and I would be appreciative if you did it. So without much further ado, let's go ahead and get right into it. Bitcoin is currently trading around $3,900 here on Coinbase and about $100 higher at almost exactly $4,000 here on Bitfinex. Now, we don't see that Bitcoin has broken above $4,000, but that's not really all that surprising. Bitcoin is contending with not one, not two, but three levels of resistance. I'll be quick in rehashing these since I have talked about them in previous videos. But of course, we have our longer-term downtrend of resistance right there. That being this one right here. We also have a flat level of resistance at about $4,000. And we also have a Fibonacci level, which you can see in the other videos we've done, that is immediately above us at around $3,950 here on Coinbase. Definitely a lot of resistance above us, and definitely what I would consider the convergence of resistance, which makes this very difficult for Bitcoin to break through. Now, with all that said, we're going to be continuing to talk about what that means for Bitcoin here in just a second. But let's go ahead and jump on over to CoinMarketCap because there are some important details that we need to discuss over here. Bitcoin across all exchanges is currently trading around $3,950, and it's only down by about 1% over the last 24 hours. And that's not really a big deal. You would expect the market to be down a little bit following this major bullish breakout, especially when we're in an accumulation phase and potentially still the tail end of a bear market like we are now, depending on how the market develops. But it's not really all that surprising to see Bitcoin trending downwards a little bit. But it's not just Bitcoin, of course. All of the top 10 cryptocurrencies, every single last one of them, and the vast majority of the rest of cryptocurrencies are in the red. We see that repo is up in the double-digit green, but about 85 cryptocurrencies are in the red. Many cryptos down here in the red. We don't see any double-digit losers, Veritasium being the biggest one, down by 7.5%. And you would expect that to happen following the kind of bullishness that we've seen over the last couple of days. You would expect to see some red. So I'm not really all that concerned about this. One thing that does make me very happy to see is the very high volume, $28 billion across all cryptocurrency markets, and $8.5 billion on Bitcoin alone is definitely a nice number. I'm very happy to see something like that. In the past, for a long time, we'd seen $3 to $4 billion on average for Bitcoin in daily volume, and now we're seeing that creep up and up and up. And it's always good to see volume going up because when volume's going up, that typically means volatility is going up. And that's one of the things I want to talk about on the channel more, is breaking down the stigma against bearishness. And of course, we all prefer Bitcoin to go bullish because it's easier to make money when Bitcoin is going bullish. But there's a lot of money to be made when Bitcoin is going bearish because you can short. So just because Bitcoin is going down does not mean that you can't make any money. It's actually a good thing for the market. It's healthy for Bitcoin to go in the red and start moving down. What's really important is seeing this volume be very high, because volume being high typically correlates and sometimes even causes high volatility. And when there's higher volatility, normally there's more money to be made. So that's one of the things I want to discuss, and that's one of the things I'm very happy to see. Anyway, with that out of the way, let's go ahead and get back on into the technical analysis over here on Bitcoin. And of course, there are two scenarios that we're going to be discussing today. A bullish breakout above the downtrend of resistance, this one right here, and a bearish resistance rejection off of that downtrend of resistance. I'll go ahead and get the bullish case out of the way first and foremost because I, one, think it's a little less likely, and two, it's a little less detailed. But the bearish one is the one that I'm most interested in. If Bitcoin breaks bullish out of here, first of all, I want to say that I very much hope that Bitcoin breaks bullish for the reasons that will become apparent here in just a minute. But Also, I'm not convinced that this is the most likely scenario. I think that Bitcoin definitely has a chance of breaking bullish. I'm not going to put a percentage on it or anything. I think there's a decent chance that Bitcoin breaks bullish. So if Bitcoin breaks bullish, don't come crying to me. But if it does break bullish, here's what's going to happen. I do think there's a decent chance, but I don't think it's most likely. If Bitcoin breaks bullish, I think what's going to happen is Bitcoin is going to break bullish and start heading towards $4,500. I think we'll probably break through $4,200. We have already broken through the 100 daily moving average. If we bring our chart up here, then we can see that Bitcoin has already broken through the gray moving average, that being the 100 daily. That's a very bullish sign. I do like to see that. And if Bitcoin does start moving to the upside, that's going to be very good, because what we've seen in previous here in the 2018 bear market is every time Bitcoin got above that moving average, this one right here, that's the 100 daily moving average, every time Bitcoin got above that in a rally, the rally was about to end. Every time we got above it, rally was about to end. Rally was about to end after we got above it. That happened a lot. And right now we've just gotten above that 100 daily moving average, and I would very much like to see Bitcoin manage to stay above, one, the downtrend of resistance, but also above the 100 moving average. That would be a break of long-term market structure, and that would be very bullish for Bitcoin, because that is, of course, a level of resistance that we could turn into a level of support. So I'd like to see Bitcoin break that and continue moving up to around $4,200 to $4,500. If we bring out our Fibonacci levels here and we turn off our moving averages and we bring out the Fib, go ahead and bring out Fibonacci, then we can also see another level of resistance, which would show itself right around $4,500, excuse me, that being the 38.2% level. That kind of lines up pretty close with $4,500. So $4,500 also being halfway between two big evens. $4,000 and $5,000 would be a very strong level of resistance, and I think that would probably be the next step for Bitcoin if Bitcoin broke bullish out here. You know how I talk about Bitcoin moving in steps of 3. We see 1 step here, 2 steps here, maybe a 3rd step up to $4,500, and then we plateau out and come down. Perhaps something like that is in the cards. We'll definitely have to see what happens there. Now, guys, I did just lay that out. It does make a lot of sense, in my opinion, that something like that would happen to Bitcoin. Time will tell. A lot of times you can lay out both scenarios and be ready for both of them, and then just play out your execute the plan that you have for whichever case happens, the bullish case or the bearish case. And this is one of those cases where I think that's a great idea. You guys should kind of try and determine what's going to happen if Bitcoin breaks bullish, and determine what you're going to do if Bitcoin breaks bearish, and then based on whichever one happens, you will execute your plan accordingly. That is definitely what I would do in this scenario, and that is definitely what I would do if I weren't going on vacation when this happens. So that just letting you guys in on what I would normally do here. Anyway, let's go ahead back down to the 4-hourly and discuss what is going on here on the bearish case. What happens if Bitcoin breaks bearish? Because this is actually really bad. If Bitcoin breaks bearish here, this is really bad. Let me explain exactly why that is so bad. Because if Bitcoin breaks bearish here, we start confirming a level of, we start confirming a pattern that I've been watching for several weeks now, and that I haven't really talked about. And the reason I haven't talked about it is because it hasn't come into effect. But starting now, this is about to become important. Bitcoin is below a downtrend of resistance, but Bitcoin isn't just contending with a downtrend of resistance. Bitcoin, unfortunately, actually, is also contending with an uptrend of support. And the reason that's bad is because when we have a downtrend of resistance and we have an uptrend of support, that is what is known as a symmetrical triangle pattern, a consolidation pattern, a continuation pattern. That's not good, because what we see here is this triangle pattern right here is a continuation pattern of bearishness. We have a bear rally, a bearish breakout, a breakdown, moving into a symmetrical triangle pattern, which is a continuation pattern, which means that if Bitcoin does continue moving through this pattern and starts bouncing around in here and executes this pattern, something like that, then it's more likely that Bitcoin's going to break bearish out of this pattern. And that would be extremely, extremely bad, because Bitcoin breaking bearish out of this pattern would cause a break of market structure that Bitcoin has literally never seen in its entire history. Let me explain exactly what I mean by that and why I'm not overhyping that. If we look out here on the weekly chart, then we're going to see a very important moving average. It's a weekly chart. If we look out here on the weekly chart, and we're actually going to go to the Brave New Coin Liquid Index chart here so that we can see this back in history. If we go back out here and we'll go down here to the daily chart and draw that pattern again, if we look and we see that Bitcoin breaks bearish out here, we see that Bitcoin's in this kind of consolidation pattern or something like this. We'll be kind of vague on this because this coin index doesn't let you go on the 4-hourly chart. But if we come back out here to the weekly chart, interestingly enough, that uptrend of support also correlates and corresponds pretty closely with the 200 weekly moving average. And that is a ridiculously important moving average. I talked about that moving average in past, but as we can see over here in the 2014, see the time period down here, the 2014-15 bear market, Bitcoin stayed above that moving average. If Bitcoin breaks below that moving average, well, then we can kind of throw a lot of our technical analysis about this being the beginning of an accumulation phase out the window. And the possibility of Bitcoin moving towards $1, $2, and $3,000, $1 or $2,000 again does actually become a lot more likely. And it does seem that me talking about, oh, well, if Bitcoin breaks bearish here on this downtrend of resistance, that could extend the bear market for Bitcoin by a long time. I'm not actually overhyping that. That is actually a very real scenario, because if Bitcoin doesn't break bullish out here, I much prefer for Bitcoin to break bullish out here. It doesn't matter what I prefer. I wish Bitcoin would break out here so that we don't have to worry about that. But if Bitcoin does break bullish, or excuse me, break bearish here and gets resistance and rejects, it's going to start confirming this consolidation pattern. And then the chances are Bitcoin's going to break bearish here, break the 200 weekly moving average, and start moving towards levels like $3,000 and perhaps even lower, which would break long-term market structure. We're kind of looking at a domino effect. Have you ever seen that video where the dude pushes forward one domino, and then that domino knocks over a domino that's a little bit bigger than it, and then a little bit bigger and a little bit bigger, and eventually he knocked over a domino that's about the size of they can fit in the palm of your hand, and the momentum knocked over a domino that was 6 feet tall. That's what we're talking about here. We're talking about like the domino theory. This is this little battle that we're fighting here is Vietnam, if you will. And if Bitcoin breaks bullish out here, excuse me, breaks bearish here, it could actually be very bad for the long term of Bitcoin. And we'll just have to see what happens there, guys. Tell me in the comment section down below what you think is more likely: Bitcoin breaking bearish here and executing on that plan, or executing on that scenario that I just laid out, or do you think Bitcoin's going to break bullish here? I much prefer for Bitcoin to break bullish here so that we don't have to worry about that, but the chances are we're going to see a bearish rejection. I very much hope I'm wrong on that. Anyway, moving on to something a little bit more happy and joyful and adoption-related. Breaking: Samsung Galaxy S10 features built-in crypto support. This is very interesting, and we do need to go ahead and clarify this. Does Samsung Galaxy S10 include a Bitcoin wallet? In a word, yes. This is very much in a word, yes. Let's go ahead and read this, because this is important to make sure we get this correct. Samsung confirmed today that it has integrated Samsung Knox into the S10, a feature which uses hardware security to store private keys from blockchain applications, including presumably cryptocurrency. Note the presumably, because what you have to understand is that blockchain is not just used in cryptocurrencies. It's used in a lot of other places. It's used in cryptography. It's used in the security of passwords, for example. It's used in a lot of different things. It's used, I mean, think about anywhere that blockchain can be applied. It's probably being used there at the moment. It's not just used in cryptocurrencies. So the word presumably here is very important, because as far as I'm aware, Samsung did not specifically mention cryptocurrency integration. But with this hardware, crypto developers should be able to turn basically any S10 into a hardware wallet, which is interesting. Developers will be able to make use of the feature in creating hardware wallets via software. Anyone who owns an S10 will essentially have a hardware wallet. Galaxy S10 is built in with defense-grade Samsung Knox, as well as a secure storage backed by hardware, which houses your private keys for blockchain-enabled mobile services. Very, very interesting, guys. I'm not going to go ahead and read through all this because it starts getting technical, and we just really don't need to get into it for the point of today's video. But I do find it very interesting that Samsung is integrating some hardware that blockchain developers would definitely find very useful for creating hardware wallets on your phone. Now, there are two problems I do have with this. One of them is the problem that I've always had with mobile hardware wallets, and that is the idea that, well, what happens if you lose your phone? Because the whole idea of a hardware wallet is that if you don't have the hardware, you can't get into the wallet. So what happens if you lose your phone and you had, I don't know, 50 grand worth of Bitcoin on there, or if you had, I don't know, you're the CEO of Quadriga X, CX, and you had $179 million or whatever it was worth of Bitcoin on there and cryptocurrency on there, and then you'll lose your phone. What happens then? Or if you die and you're the only person with the password, what happens then? So I do have some problems with mobile hardware wallets especially, but they are extremely secure. So if you manage not to lose your phone, then that's good. And there are also other ways that you can get into them. Sometimes it depends on the application. It depends on the hardware. That is one of the concerns I would have. And another concern I would have is that, as far as I know, Samsung doesn't have backdoors in its phone for the government, but I know that some phones do. And I would very much be hesitant to put my cryptocurrency on a phone, even if it does have cryptographic even if it is secured cryptographically, I'd be careful about putting my funds on a phone that potentially has a backdoor that no one knows about that the government might be able to peek into. I would personally be careful about that. Just something to keep in the back of your mind if you plan on using something like that. Anyway, guys, definitely a very interesting piece of news. I love seeing those pieces of news, and I love reading about them because I love seeing continued adoption in the cryptocurrency space, and I like to see Bitcoin and its crypto counterparts being adopted and having the society at large being more open to them. Anyway, guys, like I said earlier, tell me in the comment section down below what you think of our little scenario here of Bitcoin breaking bearish here and how that could actually be extremely bad for Bitcoin. I'm very interested to hear your opinions in the comment section down below. As always, I do love reading you guys' comments. It's honestly the best part of this this little thing I do, which is called YouTube. I love doing that. I love reading you guys' comments and interacting with you guys. So let's get a conversation going down there. And tell me what you think about the Samsung Galaxy S10 having blockchain integration with this Samsung Knox hardware in the S10. I'd love to get that conversation going as well. So anyway, guys, I hope you did enjoy today's video. I am going to be gone on Friday, Saturday, and Sunday, but so long as I'm able to get everything in order today, there should be a video on every single one of those days. If not, there should be a video on at least 2 of them. Anyway, we'll definitely see what happens there. I hope that I can get a video up for all of those. I'm going to be recording those backlog videos today, and I don't have a lot of time today, but they should get done. Anyway, guys, I do want to thank each and every single one of you for watching as always, and I will see you guys in the next video. Peace.